Good Friday morning, everyone. What a week we have had talking about dreams and visions in the Bible. And today, I want to answer the question, well, do dreams and vision, does God still use them today? And if so, how? And how should we feel about dreams and visions today? I'm going to answer all those questions in just a moment, but this is Friday. I always invite you to church because this same God who did give dreams and visions and still does today, I'll give you that. He still does today. It's our opportunity to worship him. Don't miss that. If you have your own home church, you go. You go. Don't miss it, that opportunity. If you don't, come on over to Saddleback Laguna Woods Church, Clubhouse 5 at both 9 and 11. We'd love to greet you. We have greeters who will just make you feel welcome. They're your friends and neighbors. So you'll see people you know, I'm sure. 9 and 11, have a continental breakfast, coffee, and so forth. Give it a try. Hey, dreams and visions. Does God still use them? Can I start with a story? The year was 2002. And I was working with international student ministry all over, the 8 Western states was my area, and with about 50 people at the various campuses around the West. And I got a call, and our representative on the University of Washington in Seattle was so excited to tell me that a Muslim student at UW, as they call it, had come to him and said, I had this vision. And in this vision, a man who I don't know who he was, we later discovered it was Jesus, or he said it was Jesus, told me to come to this place and meet you, the representative, that you would tell me who he was. And so our representative there, our missionary to that school, told him it was Jesus. And he is to place his faith in him. And this Muslim student did just that. Now, this was so unique at the time that word spread that this Muslim student had renounced his faith and had come to faith in the true Savior of Jesus, that it spread to Liberty University and, in fact, Jerry Falwell. And Jerry Falwell heard it, and he offered and gave that student a full ride to Liberty University. Can you imagine? It was that unique, and we were all so excited about it, as was he. I later got to actually, through a series of events, actually, because Rick Warren was speaking at Liberty University, and I got to accompany him. I got to meet Jerry Falwell, and he told me how excited he was to have that student at Liberty. But that was early on, and that was at a time where we had never heard of such thing. God has gone on to make this kind of a common occurrence now. And not just in the United States, but all over the world. He is appearing to Muslims in dreams and visions. Is this possible? Is it something that Jesus would do? Well, do you remember Acts chapter 9? Saul was on his way to Damascus, and all of a sudden, while he's approaching the city, he hears Paul. Well, he changed the name from Saul to Paul, but Saul heard a voice, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? And Saul said, well, who are you, Lord? Saul asked. I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting, he replied. Now get up and go into the city, and you will be told what you must do. And remember what happened? Saul's eyes were covered, and he couldn't see until he followed the instructions that Jesus had given to him. And that leads him to a man named Ananias, who also had a dream or vision to go meet Saul, who he was nervous about seeing because he was a big persecutor of Christians. But Ananias listened, and he did go, and the scales fell off Paul's eyes, and he could see. And he became, of course, the Apostle Paul, who spread the gospel all over the known world at that time, especially in the Europe and Asia Minor. So, was that a one-off? No. It was a way that Jesus did work with Paul. And today, more Muslims are coming to Christ than ever before in the history of Islam. By far. By far. And I'm sure there's a lot of reasons, but one of them is that Jesus appears to them in a dream or a vision. And almost all the accounts, wherever they occur, have these four things in common. Number one, Jesus appears to them. Number two, Jesus tells them where to go, who to find, and speak to a person in a certain place at a certain time. Number three, when the Muslim follows Jesus' instructions, he finds that person in exactly that place. And number four, the Muslim places their faith in Jesus as the Messiah and Savior, and they renounce Islam at great personal cost to them, of course. Usually expulsion from their family, and if they're in a closed country, often it can mean worse than that: loss of job, loss of freedom, and occasionally loss of life. But it's worth it to them. Why? Because Jesus appeared to them in a dream or a vision. Now, why does God do such a thing? You know, the interesting thing is he could lead them to himself without leading him to a person to tell him about himself. But that's not what is happening. Jesus, of course, God doesn't need us. He could write it in the clouds that Jesus is God. Place your faith in him. That could be clouds. No, he allows us as followers of him to be the one to take the good news to both Muslims and anyone else is willing to listen as we share the gospel. According to Acts 2:22 and Hebrews 2:4, God uses these miracles, and that's what a dream or a vision is. It's a miracle. It's not an everyday occurrence by any means, but they're used to give credit to the messenger that God has brought into their life. So we as Christians, we should rejoice in the way that God is miraculously bringing Muslims to faith in himself. But we need to be the ones that still provide access to the gospel. And if anything, it should encourage us in the area of missions and supporting of missions, because we know that God is going to use it to call some to himself. So I am excited to say, that God is alive and well. And I will tell you that in the area of frontier missions, that is in the few remaining groups of people, ethnicities around the world that haven't heard of him, when missionaries take that gospel to those people, he often does use signs and wonders, healings, visions, to authenticate that messenger, just as he did in the book of Acts. We have a great God. I love to worship him. I hope I see you on Sunday. God bless. See you then.
Oh, come to the Father through Jesus the Son, and give him